My family is in the monkey show business. A monkey show costs 50,000 yuan. The price is quite expensive. But female customers keep coming in an endless stream. After they come out of the room, they all say that the monkeys in my family perform well. I am extremely curious. But my father never lets me go in. He always says that the monkeys in my family are not as good as those in the zoo and asks me to go to the zoo to see monkeys. I am extremely curious. So I ask my father, if the monkeys in the zoo are better than those at home, why does mother still go to see the monkeys at home at night? Hearing this, my father's expression changes instantly. My family is located under a famous tourist scenic area. My mother opened a monkey house where she shows monkeys to guests. Some female tourists who have just come down from the mountain and been bullied by wild monkeys on the mountain will come to our place to experience the service. According to what they say, they want to take revenge on domestic monkeys in the same way they were bullied by wild monkeys on the mountain. If they were bullied by wild monkeys on the mountain, they will vent their anger on domestic monkeys when they come down. There is a rule in my family: we can only receive a maximum of 5 female customers at a time. We won't receive more. No matter how much money is offered, we won't receive more. Others don't know the reason, and still praise my family for having principles in doing business. Gradually, more and more people come here because of its reputation. But in fact, it's not that my family doesn't want to receive more customers. It's just that there are only 5 monkeys in my family. There were 6 before. But last year, there was an incident where a domestic monkey bit someone. That monkey was beaten to death. So now there are only 5 monkeys left in my family. Otherwise, we could earn 50,000 yuan more. My mother often talks about these things. I hear them every day and can roughly understand. Today, a pair of girls come to my house. The girl in light-colored clothes is full of bad luck. Her clothes are all scratched with marks of different sizes. The bag of the girl in light-colored clothes is also torn with a hole. The 2 of them are in a terrible mess. The monkeys on this mountain are really annoying. They even scratched my bag, worth nearly 200,000 yuan. My mother speaks up at the right time. Have you beauties been bullied by wild monkeys on the mountain? You can come here and have a look. Our store is specialized in showing monkeys to guests. The monkeys here were also wild monkeys outside before. But after our domestication, they have become much more docile. They can also perform various acrobatics. With my mother's glib tongue, the 2 girls entered the door one after the other. After asking about the price, they both become interested. I really want to see what's so special about a monkey show that costs 50,000 yuan. The young lady in light-colored clothes takes the lead and enters a dark room. The young lady in dark-colored clothes wants to follow in, but is stopped by my mother at the door. In my family, it's one-on-one service. 1 monkey serves only 1 person. Beauty, you can come with me to another room. As soon as the young lady hears that it's charged per person even though it costs 50,000 yuan, she refuses on the spot. It's just a monkey show. I've seen it in circuses too. I guess your monkey show at the scenic spot is more expensive than outside. I won't spend this 50,000 yuan unjustly. Another rich woman just comes in. Hearing her words, she quickly comes up and grabs the girl's arm. Little sister, you don't know since it's your first time here. The monkey show here is something you can't see anywhere else. I live nearby and I often come here. At this point, there is more playful smile in the rich woman's eyes. You can try it and you'll know what's different here. The girl is half reluctant, but is also brought into the room by my mother. When my mother comes out again, the rich woman tells my mother with a shy expression on her face, "Today I want to see something exciting. I'm tired of those before." My mother understands her meaning instantly and gives her a reassuring look. Got it. Come with me to the last room. The monkeys there I rarely show to others. They are for me to secretly watch at night. Don't worry. You'll be satisfied. The rich woman laughs Scorpio's lie. That's good. Under my mother's leadership, the 2 enter the innermost rooms skillfully. I am curious and also want to follow. but every time I am driven out by my mother. She has always disliked me going into the small room. She said that only paying customers can go in there. The more she doesn't let me in, the more curious I become. But if my mother doesn't let me in, I can't get in. The rooms with customers will be locked from inside. For rooms without customers, my mother will lock them with a lock. Only she has the key. I also tried to press my ear against the wall to listen to the sounds inside. But the sound insulation of my house's walls is so good that I can't hear anything. After waiting for nearly an hour, a young lady in light-colored clothes comes out of the room first. My mother also comes out of her room, just having had a beauty sleep. The young lady's face is flushed. She holds my mother's hand and keeps praising the monkey in the room. As long as you are satisfied, come again next time. While the two are talking, the other two also come out. Their faces are one redder than the other. I watch curiously beside. These three people's faces are redder than a monkey's butt. The rich woman holds onto the young lady in dark clothes and asks her, "How is it? Is this monkey show exciting and enjoyable?" The young lady in dark clothes is a bit embarrassed and hides behind the young lady in light clothes. The rich woman doesn't say more and starts talking to my mother. "Boss lady, you really didn't lie to me. The room inside is really superb." Next time I still want to go to that room. You can't keep it all to yourself. I don't understand again. Just watching a monkey show. How is it related to keeping it all to yourself? Does my mother secretly eat delicious food while watching the monkey show in the room? I can't figure it out. When my mother is seeing off the guests, my father comes just in time. This monkey show store is opened by my mother. Usually only my mother is here. My father basically doesn't come. When he comes, it's only to bring meals for my mother. Sure enough, my father has come to bring meals for my mother again. I quietly ask my father, "Dad, today's customer of my mother said that the monkey in the innermost room is a superb one. Then it must perform very well." My father frowns and warns me in a low voice. "I tell you, you must not go into the small room inside. Got it?" I don't understand. He always tells me this. He always says that the monkeys in my family are not as good as those in the zoo. If I want to see monkeys, I should go to the zoo. But I am even more curious. The ticket price for the zoo is much cheaper than my family's price. If the monkeys in the zoo are better to see, why are there so many people coming specially to my house to see monkeys? I am extremely curious. So I ask my father, if the monkeys in the zoo are better than those at home, why does even mother still go to see the monkeys at home at night? Does she not have seen the monkeys in the zoo? Someday I will take her to see the monkeys in the zoo. Hearing this, my father's expression changes instantly. He throws the lunchbox on the table and glares at me. "Amelie, what did you say?" Just as I am about to open my mouth and repeat what I just said, my mother's voice sounds outside the door. "Husband, why are you here?" She interrupts me and walks straight towards my father. Seeing this, I quickly slip out and leave enough space for the two of them. In a short while, there is the sound of things being thrown inside. No one notices that I, sitting on the bench in the corridor, have a strange smile on my face. In fact, I am not the first child in my family who is so curious about the monkey show store. The first one is my brother. My brother and I used to sleep in the basement of the monkey show store. He watched so many people going in and out of these small rooms every day but couldn't hear any sound, which aroused his interest even more. So on a dark and windy night, my brother got down from his bed and quietly told me, "Sister, I'm going to go up and see what's so strange about the monkeys in the small room. Are you coming?" I was half asleep and shrank my neck into the quilt. No. After that, I fell into a deep sleep. Until the next morning, my brother's bed was ice cold. Only then did I know that my brother didn't come back all night. At first I thought my brother had gone out. He often does this. He goes out alone, and then comes back quietly when I don't notice. Every time I ask him where he goes, he just says he went to see mother. In fact, this mother of ours is not our biological mother. Our biological mother died of difficult labor after giving birth to me. Only my brother and I were left to depend on each other. Usually, my father doesn't care about us. He is a perennial gambler. According to my brother, when mother had a difficult labor, my father took all the money in the family and lost it in gambling. Without money, he watched mother die of massive bleeding. Later, my father brought us here and my brother and I have a new mother. This new mother is very good to my brother. She will buy acne cream for him when he has pimples on his face and also buy ointment for him in time when he has small rashes on his body. My brother and I both thought she was our angel mother. But one night, my brother wanted to go out and drink some water. When he came back, I didn't see the water cup in his hand. I just felt that his whole face was extremely pale. Brother. Brother. I called him twice before he reacted. Then he suddenly covered my mouth and told me to be quiet. At that time, he was extremely nervous and kept looking towards the door from time to time as if someone would appear there. I also asked him, but he never said. I knew he was hiding something from me. Originally, I thought he would tell me, but I didn't expect that he never came back. When I realized that my brother was missing, I also went to find my father, but he just casually told me that my brother had gone to work in another place. I didn't believe it. I cried and shouted to go find my brother. But my father slapped me hard. After that, he didn't let me mention my brother anymore. I am also very obedient to him, and never mention my brother again. But there has always been a guess in my heart. Is my brother's disappearance related to those small rooms? So I became even more curious about those rooms. I have been secretly observing and slowly found something wrong. Monkeys are lively, active, and very intelligent animals. But I have never heard monkey cries coming from the small rooms. Even when my mother opens the door, I can't hear any sound. So I summoned up my courage and secretly went to the small rooms at night like my brother. As a result, I really found a strange scene. My mother sneaked into the small room at night. Perhaps because she thought that no one would come at night. So she didn't lock the door well. I heard her strange cries one after another. Driven by curiosity, I secretly peeked inside the door. Just with this one glance, I was shocked and opened my mouth wide. My mother's body was swaying up and down. With her movements, a big monkey with a human shape was exposed. Due to being too surprised, I accidentally bumped the door. With a creak. It was extremely harsh. My mother's gaze was successfully attracted. Who? Who's there? I quickly hid behind the door. I don't know why, but I always feel that if she finds me, I will definitely be in big trouble. My mother was bare-chested and didn't know where she took out a stick. The sound of iron rubbing against the floor tiles made my heart numb. I was so scared that my hands and feet turned ice cold. If I were really hit by that stick, even if I didn't die, I would surely get a concussion. My mother had already reached the door. As long as she moved a little, she could find me hiding outside. Suddenly, there was a sound inside the room. My mother's footsteps turned back. I only heard the sound of a few mallet blows and my mother's curse. I told you to run. Run again. See if I don't beat you to death. I quickly fled in a panic and ran back to my room. Along the way, I was extremely puzzled. What was that dark monster? Was it the monkey in my mother's mouth? Why did my mother still go to the small room in the middle of the night? These were all unsolved mysteries. After that day, my mother's attitude towards me was full of cautious probing. Have you been sleeping well recently? I see that there are dark circles under your eyes. Didn't you sleep well? I shook my head and said cautiously. I just had a nightmare last night. If you have a nightmare, it's best to drink a glass of milk before going to bed. Look, your father used to get up at night all the time. Now doesn't he sleep until dawn? That night, my mother sent a glass of warm milk to my room. Under my mother's gaze, I fell into a deep sleep after drinking it. Before falling asleep, I seemed to see her smiling at me. Since my father and my mother had a fight, their relationship didn't seem to have changed much. But every time I was outside the room, I would catch my father secretly pouring milk into the flower pot. Tonight was another sleepless night. When the pointer pointed to 12 o'clock, I heard the faint sound of arguing coming from upstairs on the bed in the basement. In fact, I had always known that there was something wrong with that glass of milk. My father also realized this problem. That's why he woke up tonight when my mother didn't expect it. I secretly came up to the first floor in the dark. The sound of their arguing became even clearer. Cardia, you are a flirtatious woman. I know everything. What are you doing in those small rooms? I tell you, if this matter is just let go like this, I am not your man. My mother roared viciously. If you don't want to be my man, then I will help you. As soon as the words fell, only a thud was heard. Then there was silence in that room again. I could even clearly hear my own heartbeat. I didn't know who had fallen. I hid at the staircase and didn't dare to go out. Until my legs were numb from standing. There was finally movement on the first floor. I saw my mother struggling to drag my father's tall body and dragged him all the way into those small rooms. It turned out that it was my father who had fallen just now. But I wasn't sad at all. On the contrary, I had a sense of vengeful pleasure. Because my father had lied to me back then. My brother didn't go out to work at all. Instead, he was locked up in a small room by my mother. Once, I heard my father threaten my mother. Guizhi. Don't think I don't know what kind of monster is locked in those small rooms of yours. Well, I don't want much. I've had bad luck recently and have been losing money all the time. 500,000. I only want 500,000. I definitely won't tell others. After all, my own son has been locked up by you. There's no use saying anything else. Now he's a monster and not my son anymore. Just consider it as compensation for me. In the future, I will still live a good life with you. Don't worry. As soon as I get the 500,000, I definitely won't tell outsiders. Even to my own daughter. I told her that her brother went to work. He seemed to be taking credit. There was only money and gambling in his eyes. That's when I began to hate him. It wasn't until I finally saw my brother that the hatred in my heart reached its peak. My brother could no longer look like he used to be. There wasn't a single piece of good skin all over his body. Even his face was covered with sporadic monkey hairs. His mouth was wide open and he kept making whining sounds as if he wanted to say something. But his tongue had been cut off at the root. It was they who made my brother like this. After I saw my mother drag my unconscious father into the sixth small room, she returned to her own room and took out an iron box. The things inside gave off a faint stench. A bundle was still bulging. From time to time, some hairs would float out. Some even floated in front of my eyes. I clearly saw that it was a tuft of brown-black monkey hair. Since I live under the scenic area all the time, I can clearly distinguish dog hair, cat hair, and monkey hair. This kind of hair is exactly the same as the hair on my brother's body. I seemed to have uncovered her secret. My mother stayed inside for a long time. It was almost dawn when I saw her come out with the iron box and the deflated bundle. Her eyes glanced lightly in my direction downstairs. Just with this one glance, it seemed that all the blood in my body froze. Taking advantage of the fact that it wasn't completely bright yet and the basement was still extremely dark, I quickly bent over and quickly returned to my room and covered myself with the quilt. Just as I lay down, my mother came in right after. Her sticky hand was pressed against my face and she called me softly a few times, Amélie. Amélie. She even sat by my side tirelessly and tested my reaction. Finally, seeing that I really didn't move at all, she slowly took the empty milk cup and walked out of my room. When I woke up naturally, I saw my mother still entertaining female customers who came because of her reputation as usual. In our store, a new monkey has arrived. I specially saved it for you. Because it just arrived and hasn't been fully tamed yet. It still has some wildness. The rich woman was a frequent visitor to my house. After hearing what my mother said, Her face flushed red. A 50-year-old woman's face also showed the shyness of a young girl. It's good to have some wildness. I like this kind. After saying that, she couldn't wait to walk into the sixth room. When my mother's eyes swept over me, there was a hint of warning in her eyes. Hurry up and work? I immediately picked up a broom and started sweeping. My mother didn't go back to her room to sleep as usual. Instead, she stood beside me and stared at me intently. I was really uncomfortable being watched by her. I blurted out, "Mom, aren't you going upstairs to take a nap?" As soon as I said it, I regretted it. The corner of her mouth curved slightly. "How do you know I didn't sleep well last night? Did you see something?" I raised my blank eyes and controlled my body that wanted to tremble. I shook my head. "No, I slept until dawn last night. The milk you gave me really works." After that day, I haven't had nightmares anymore. "Mom, don't you take a nap every day? I see that there are no customers now. So I ask you, Dad should bring you meals soon. My father is never at home all day. He just soaks in the casino every day. Only at noon does he come back and bring meals for my mother specifically. Others say that a gambler like my father still misses his wife. But only I know in my heart. My father doesn't love his wife. Instead, he is trying hard to hold on to her money tree. When my mother married my father, the neighbors said that a pie had fallen from the sky for my father's family. My father is a well-known gambler. Not only is his family penniless, but he also has 2 children, let alone having any luck with the opposite sex. Even the neighbors keep their distance from my father for fear that he will ask to borrow money to gamble. My mother is beautiful, and she also opened a monkey show store. The men who pursue her can line up from the beginning of the village to the end. But my mother chose my father who had nothing. Since the two got married, my father has completely lived a happy life. Not only did he let me and my brother call her mother, but he also cherished her very much. The purpose is to hold on to my mother. This long-term meal ticket. And be a soft rice man. He always showed off to me and my brother. A man at 40 is in his prime. Look how well your father is doing. In the future, you have to find a wife like this too. Not only don't you have to spend money, but you also have to get money. But he has never heard the principle that the mantis catches the cicada while the oriole follows behind. I didn't see my father all day today. Some nosy regular customers inquired. "Boss lady, why didn't we see your husband come to bring you meals today?" I was cleaning silently. Unexpectedly, my mother said sadly to others. "My old Jew had a fight with me yesterday, and left me and the child and left. He hasn't come back yet." Someone comforted my mother. "Boss lady, you should think about it. It's just pitiful for me and Amelie. I don't know where he went either. Maybe he's still angry with me." Just as she was saying this, after the rich woman who entered the sixth room came out. Her face was full of smiles. "Oh, boss lady. This new monkey in your family is really good." I saw her twisting her hips. There were even several shocking big handprints on her arm. My mother turned into a smiling face. "As long as you are satisfied. 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 It's just too fierce. You have to take good care of it." My mother responded on the surface. After sending those people away, she immediately entered the sixth room. I didn't know what happened inside. I only saw a man walk into the store. He went straight to the sixth room and opened the door skillfully, then quickly closed it. At that moment, I heard a howling sound inside. Then, as the door was completely closed, the sound stopped abruptly. I know that man. He is my mother's younger brother. I haven't seen him many times. Every time I see him, I stay far away from him. For some reason, I can always feel some hostility from him, which makes people daunting. He doesn't talk to people either. Every time he comes because of my mother's call. I waited at the door for a long time, unconsciously rubbing the pendant on my neck with my hand. When the door was opened again, I saw a shocking scene. I saw that the big black-brown monkey inside was beaten until only one breath was left. Its hands and feet were all limp and hung on both sides of its body as if there were no tendons. To prevent him from escaping, there were traces of chains on his neck and shoulders. The man glanced at me. I was instantly terrified. He glanced at my mother and motioned to ask what to do. I had no doubt that if I made any more outlandish moves, I would become the monkey in the room. My mother frowned and stared at me. "Quickly get up from the ground." While holding a mop, she asked with a normal expression. "Mom, I've finished mopping the floor. Dad didn't bring you lunch today. I made some for you. Since Uncle is here, why don't you taste my cooking too?" My mother nodded and asked me to go to the kitchen to get the food first. She opened her mouth, only after she saw me leave. "Brother, that dead girl Amelie doesn't seem to know yet." I was lying on the corner wall and didn't go far. The man said impatiently, "If she knows our secret, it won't be good. We must be foolproof." But she does her work quite well. Washing clothes, cooking, cleaning the house. She does everything. If we find someone else, not only will it cost money, but we also have to be afraid of when the news will leak out. In the end, they decided to keep me. This will be the most wrong decision they make. In a place they couldn't see, I quietly entered the kitchen. After filling the food, I also specially prepared some wine. As I expected, the man didn't touch the wine at all and just ate the dishes with my mother. In a short while, the two of them fell down one after another. When I was cooking, I deliberately put something in the food that would make them fall into a deep sleep. When my mother eats, she never eats with me. Originally, I thought she just liked eating alone. But it wasn't until the man came here to eat for the first time that I realized that she just simply didn't want to eat with me. So, not using chopsticks won't arouse their suspicion, I took the man to room No. 7 and tied him up inside like he did just now. I took my mother to room No. 6 after seeing me come in. The black-brown monkey inside was full of expectation. He opened his mouth wide and tried to make a sound with a whimper. But because he had no tongue, he couldn't say anything. I ignored him, and just took care of my mother wholeheartedly. No, she's not my mother. This woman even killed my brother with her own hands. She is a devil. I will never forget that night. I didn't expect that I would recognize him, even though he was unrecognizable. After my brother was discovered by the woman that night, he was made into a monkey. The iron box she held every night actually contained a kind of herbal medicine. After applying it on human skin, it would make the epidermis directly ulcerate and flow out the flesh inside. Then she would stick those black-brown monkey hairs to the surface of the human body. The first time I secretly saw it was still in the room where my brother was locked up. The woman left in a hurry and forgot to close the door tightly. Driven by curiosity, I quietly opened the door. With just one glance, I recognized my brother. At that time, his whole body was smeared with ointment and there wasn't a single piece of good flesh on his body. His upper body was still covered with clusters of monkey hairs. In the end, there weren't enough monkey hairs left, leaving only a horrible body. When my brother heard the approaching footsteps, he immediately signaled me with his eyes to quickly hide in the cabinet. Through the crack of the cabinet, I saw the woman bring back a bundle of monkey hairs again. Amid my brother's painful whimpering, she stuck them alive to the wound. When my brother was in extreme pain, he was shaking his head at me. I knew what he meant. He was telling me to hide well and never go out and not be found by the woman. After leaving me with his last smile, he bit the woman's wrist fiercely. My brother was beaten to death alive. When he died, his eyes were not even closed. In the end, the woman threw him into the desolate back mountain. My brother is gone just like that. After that, I came out at night and searched all over the mountains for my brother. Heaven pays off those who are diligent. Finally, I found him. After I secretly cremated my brother's body, I sealed his ashes in my necklace. Every time I touched my necklace, I wished I could pull out her tendons and peel off her bones. Now I can finally get what I want. She was made into the first female monkey by me. My father was howling nearby. Probably he was happy. After dealing with the woman, while she was still unconscious, I performed the hair-sticking surgery on my nominal uncle. Like my father, I also cut the tendons of the man's hands and feet to prevent him from escaping. After that, I became the owner of this monkey show store. Many regular customers would ask me about the woman's news many times. Every time I would tell them with a pale face that she was looking for my father. Others didn't suspect either. After all, it was the woman who said before that she loved my father very much. In fact, where is there any love between them? It's just a relationship of mutual benefit. My father wants the woman to bring him wealth, while the woman wants my father and my brother so that she can have spare monkeys to use. Once I overheard the conversation between the woman and her younger brother by accident. It turned out that the monkey people in these rooms were all the woman's ex-husbands. The two of them targeted people who had no parents, no friends, and were on the fringes. Even if they suddenly disappeared, they wouldn't attract others' attention. Finally, they set their sights on my father. Just when the monkey in room No. 6 was no longer good. Originally, their plan was to let my father replace it. But who knew that my brother accidentally witnessed their matter? In the end, my brother became one of the many monkey people. Due to business expansion, the business in the store is much better than before. Many men who heard that there are female monkeys also came to the store to experience it. I continued the previous tradition. 50,000 yuan at a time. Many customers would ask me about the news of the woman and my father when they were queuing. I patiently explained and watched them disappear into the small rooms one by one. These people will never know that my father and the woman have never left this house.